The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip, and our monitor's not working on the set.
You are on the air, though, Chip. You're on the air.
Okay, well, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Carlos.
And boy, did we have a great week this week. 2 mayoral debates, and I just gotta start. I'm sorry, because I think something has to be said, and it has to be said immediately. First of all, I make no apologies for our debate. I never will make an apology for our debate. And there's no way that I will ever apologize for the people being allowed to speak. You know something? I'm sick and tired of politicians wanting to be treated like monarchs. We don't ask permission to talk to the king and queen of Fall River. We are the government. By the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts, all executives and elected officials are at all times agents of the people and answerable to the people. And it's about time somebody got up and gave these people a wake-up call. If I had my way, I would have given them tomatoes to throw at them. Because guess what? I'm sick and tired of them being able to lie, and then they want everybody to sit quietly so they can come out and say, you see, I'm telling the truth again. It's about time Sam Sutter had the people show him their frustration with his half-truths and his lies. I'm sick and tired of it. And then we have mainstream media, which is why I'm on this show. We get to speak the truth. We get to give you our opinion. We let the people speak. First they said, well, we didn't have any, they questioned our questions. and well, our questions came from the people. And the people are the individuals who were concerned, and it was their concerns. And one of the local radio hosts after our debate said, oh, well, you know, they didn't even ask anything about education. Well, guess what? I guess the people, unlike you imbecile, okay, maybe they realize that we can't do a damn thing about education. Everything's statutory in Massachusetts, and that has to be changed. And there's nothing we can do, and that's one of the first things we have to do is change the handcuffs that the state has imposed on cities and towns with education. They have their own empire, and nobody can do a damn thing about it. So why bother asking a question? Because the answer's always the same. We have to meet net school spending because it's the law. But the people asked about what they were concerned about: taxes, public safety. And then they condemned us because people made a little noise. Well, good. Let them make a little noise. When people made a little noise about not being able to eat at the same lunch counter or ride on the same section of the bus, and they got arrested and they made a little noise, they were condemned too. But guess what? It was the voice of the people fighting for their rights. It's about time somebody had a debate that people are allowed to show a little emotion. They're pissed, and I'm glad they showed they were pissed. And I close every show with say angry, and I'm not going to be hypocritical and say, oh, you guys should have behaved yourself. You just sat there like a bunch of dummies and pretended that you're going to listen to Sam Sutter's bullshit, because I'm tired of it. You know, And it was brought out at yesterday's debate, which, by the way, wasn't our debate. It was the Herald News debate. Let's see how badly they beat up the Herald News, because 4 people had to be escorted from the chamber. There were catcalls and boos. And you know something? We've said time and time again, we like the House of Commons. Let the people speak. Keep it within the realm. Everybody got a chance to answer the questions, and we got 7 questions. That debate had 3. So, you know something? I don't care about that. That's the issue here is, do the people get to voice their opinion? And they did. There's never going to be an apology. I end the show with stay angry, and I want you to be angry. And like I told a political candidate after the debate, when everybody was wringing their hands because, oh, so-and-so befriended me, and they said we lost control of the debate. No, we didn't. The people got a little rowdy, and good. They deserve to get a little rowdy. They've been getting it tucked in their shorts for the last 10 years. And they deserve it. They deserve to be pissed. Because I'm pissed. When Sam Sutter, and he got called on it, Sam Sutter, 19 out of 20 people were in favor of the new fee. Well, Sam, another half-truth. You pulled a lawyer on him. You ask somebody, do you want to pay $5 or $10 or $20 or lose all your police and firemen and burn to death and get mugged every 2 minutes? You know, that's a lawyer question. That's a lawyer question. That's not a real question. You know what the answer is going to be. Sam, if you ask me if I want the electric chair or a filet mignon, I think you got a pretty good damn idea what my answer is going to be. The way you frame the question dictates the answer. That was not a valid question. Did you ask the people if they want to pay more taxes? No. You said, do you want to pay a little bit more or lose all your fire and police? And I'm sick and tired of those threats. And all the half-truths that you've told were exposed in these 2 debates, and you got your head handed to you, and it's about time. Because whether you win or lose this, maybe this is a wake-up call. You showed your disdain for the people of Fall River. You think we're stupid, and you think we don't understand. Well, we do. We understand a lot better than you think we do. And you're right, Fall River is a very unique place. This is a blue-collar town. This isn't Newton. We don't have 73% of the population with a bachelor's degree. This is a tough, blue-collar town where people grow up in the street, getting in each other's face, and being adversarial when they have to be. Like all communities like this. If you go to Gary, Indiana, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or any blue-collar city, you'll find people that are real people. They're not yuppies, and they don't think that you have to graduate from an Ivy League school to be worthwhile. And you showed that last night. You showed your disdain. And I'm glad you did. And I'm glad the people, not only in our debate, but in the Herald News debate, showed their displeasure with government. And I hope they carry that over to Tuesday and to the final election, because it's about time that we begin to revolt. We started in this city with the recall, the first city ever to have a successful recall. And now let's Fall River, let's make the map for something besides crappy schools and heroin. Let's show the rest of this country and the rest of this state that Fall River will now begin to change government by getting rid of the dead wood, okay? And that's it for me. Take it over, boys.
Well, you know, Chip, it's very interesting because last night during the Herald News debate, I received texts, and by the way, for those who are going to question them, I still have them, from elected officials, and I'm not going to out them, but they said, that's it, the fork is in them, Sam is done, okay? And you know, I think the biggest mistake, as a political analyst, the biggest mistake that Sam had in both these debates was the fact that he allowed himself to be placed on the defensive. And if he had maintained an offensive stance, and every lawyer knows this, and any political activist, any campaign manager knows this, you plan for these type of attacks. But he became so defensive that he went so far as to actually threaten a candidate, you know, and granted it was at the candidate's request, but I mean, he said that he's going to make it his lifelong endeavor to make sure that this individual gets fined. And that's fine, I understand that, but that showed a personalization of the debate. And that personalization didn't just stop with Sam, they all personalized it. You know why? Because this is a personal issue. This is an issue that the people of Fall River are finally getting upset about. They're finally, you know, picking up their pants and doing what they need to do. And the biggest problem here is, you know, I did apologize to the people that were at that debate for the uproarious behavior. Not because the people were expressing their opinions, but because it showed a great deal of disrespect for the production crew, the staff, and the children that were there to learn about the educational process. But you know what? You're right, Chip. Sometimes you're going to get stabbed in the side to get where you need to go.
Well, you know something? The children in that audience and the crew, the hell with the crew, they're doing a job. I don't give two craps if they didn't like the noise, okay? They were there doing their job. Nobody cared about, when I did my job, you know, I don't care what the public was saying. I got to do my job. That's their job. And as far as the children, it's nice that the children learn that only the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And the only way you change government is to stand up and be heard. That, you know, these children got to stop thinking that politicians are monarchs that you don't dare speak to. They've got to learn that they work for us, that we are the government. They've got to remember their history. They got to remember at one time people of color couldn't sit in the same section as white people. They got to remember that they couldn't ride on the same section of a bus. And the only way that got done is by people marching, being heard, getting clubbed, getting arrested, and doing what they had to do. Because I'm not apologizing. You can apologize, and all I want. I say, get an education. I grew up in a street, and I learned there's a time to talk and there's a time to fight. And you know something? They better learn, if they want good government, there comes a time where you got to get up and you got to give the special but not very vocal. You can go like this to the people. You can wave your arms like this, see? You know, and you got to tell them where to go. You got to tell them, you got to make them do it. And after one of those, after the debate, I had another discussion with somebody who told me, well, do you expect these people to do what they promise? And I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The only way a politician does what he promises is if he knows that if he doesn't, he's out of a job. Mm-hmm. When you put people in a city council for 20 and 25 years, regardless of how pathetic their performances are, when you allow mayors to stay in there to pay people $92,000 for working 18 and a half hours and then trying to justify it, you know, this is what you get. You get the government. You know, too many people think that, oh, you know, politicians don't keep their promises. And why don't they keep their promises? Because Napoleon Bonaparte said very long ago, the two levers that move men are fear and self-interest. And the only way you're going to get a politician to keep his promises is if you put him in fear that he won't keep that nice cushy job, and it's in his best self-interest to keep his promises to the people. Otherwise, the people will rise up and go after him. And you know something? I love the House of Commons. I love spirited debate. I love contentious debate. And anybody that wants to come on here and argue for a half an hour, bring it on.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah. And we've even thought about running a program where it would be like the House of Commons, where we would bring in the incumbents and have them face an audience of people who get that opportunity to do that. But again, you don't want that. They won't do that because you know why? They're afraid to. They're afraid to. They're afraid to be held accountable. Instead, you hear their diatribe ads of, I'm wonderful, I'm your city councilor, I have done everything for you for 20 years, and guess what? I still have done nothing, but you love me, so you're going to elect me. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick. And these debates brought out the one thing very clear. The people are fed up. On December 16th of last year, the history of the Boston Tea Party, the anniversary of it, the people of Fall River had the Purple Party, okay? They removed a failed administration. But these same individuals created a situation where their opinions were being looked at very diligently. And there were several people that wanted a totally different agenda. And so it split up a potentially strong political force. And now again, that force is starting again to recombine. And that force, if they can keep it together and put their personal opinions aside, I don't care if you don't like somebody. I don't care if you think somebody's a jerk, if they're an ass, if they're this, if they're that. You know what? If they're getting the job done, that's what's required. That's what you have to put up with. You don't go out and dig them a grave and then knock them in and then expect them to keep doing the job that you want. And these people need to realize, across the country, the polls are showing over 60% of the electorate are fed up with their form of government. And that same number do not trust and cannot stand their elected officials. The problem is, though, that they keep re-electing them. You know why? Well, because it's not my guy, because my guy brought home the pork. My guy brought home the bacon, and we got this, that, and the other thing. So we're going to keep them. So people like to complain, but they don't like to make the change because somebody gave them something. Okay? And if you listen to the campaign ads, you hear people like Linda Pereira, okay, Leo Pelletier, saying, I've done this, I've done that. Linda even said, we work 24/7. Leo said, we work 24/7. Somebody calls me up, they need this done, I make a phone call. Hey, guess what, people? Are you so damn lazy that you can't make the phone call yourself? How come when I need something from DCM, and I pick up the phone, and I call Kenny Pacheco answers. And Kenny Pacheco says, I'll get right on top of it. It may take a day or two, it may take 3 or 4. But it gets done. Why? Because you call the city council and it happened the next day? You're special? No, now you owe this person, and you sold your vote for a favor, or worse, a Coney Island hot dog now. The chocolate sandwich is not there anymore.
Well, that's it. When all else fails, when all the promises and all the BS that they stack up and telling you how good a job they've done in 20 years, but look at Fall River in the last 20 years, how much it's deteriorated. This is what happens. This is what happens. This was on the door of virtually every place, every high-rise, every public housing unit. And it says, please join Sam Sutter, mayor, for food, entertainment, and fun. Isn't it ironic, the mayor that couldn't be found for a year, now here he is. I wonder if he's gonna sing Mac the Knife like Eddie used to. I don't know. But it says, location. Conversation with Mayor Sutter, entertainment, and a great meal. Coney Island hot dogs, homemade baked beans, pastries, and coffees. Attendee raffle. You're going to even get a prize. Winner will be given a goodie bag filled with treats. And then for that, you get to get taxed to death again. And look who they target, the people who these tax increases don't affect. They want their vote because they're not worried about the $10 fee. They know these people in the high-rises vote, and they know that they really are detached from most of the problems that the average people in Fall River face. So they say, buy them with the hot dog.
Read the last line of that flyer, exactly what it says.
Paid for with donated labor by the committee to re-elect Sam Sutter. And, that goodie bag, you're buying, I know a lot of people in high-rises watch our show. And you did your time, you worked hard all your life, and now, you're there. But remember that the city you worked in and lived in and made a living in no longer exists. And it no longer exists because of what these people have done to it. That the people that are living the life that you live, trying to make a living in this city, can't do it anymore. This city is a disaster. You're afraid to go out of your high-rise because of the way this city is, and that's not going to change. And a Coney Island hot dog and baked beans is not the answer. You know, a colonoscopy is a better answer.
If you guys allow me a couple of minutes, I would like to just to say a couple of things. Last night during the debates, Mayor Sada put something that I think is not true, and I need to bring the truth out. When he mentioned that during his appearance on the neighborhood associations, that we agreed with the $10. I was one of the ones that agreed with something. And what we agreed with was we didn't mind to pay more to have safety on our city, to hire a police officer or to hire a firefighter. That's what my hand went up, was to agree that I don't mind to pay more to have safety on my city. We did not agree to pay $10 per apartment, because I don't think that those $10 actually is going to pay for anything than pick up trash. That's what the $10 is going to go for. And that's, so I want to clarify this when, because of the neighborhood groups got thrown into the debates, you know, with something that I don't think that's true. What we agreed was that we don't mind to pay more tax to have safety on our city. Don't have nothing to do with the $10 that was increased.
But
I want to make that clear.
But Carlos,
Oh,
no, you did exactly what he said. You agreed to pay more taxes for police and fire, and you did that. And Carlos, I was there. I remember you did do that. And
Yes.
the problem is that it was worded, as Chip said, in a lawyer format question.
Okay.
And what happens with that is this: the money can only go to sanitation because it's an enterprise fund. Okay? But by virtue of that money going into sanitation, the city doesn't have to put money into sanitation. Therefore, the money that actually goes into sanitation is taken out of the budget on the sanitation side and put somewhere else. Probably for part-time lawyers and chief of staff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right, CJ. And let me, as someone who has seen the evolution of this tactic, you know, as a firefighter who was the president of the local for 24 years, there was a time we had 300 firefighters that were paid for by the city. No grants were necessary. We had 250 police officers. And over the course of the years, and with the implementation of Proposition 2.5, cities and towns began to divert money from police and fire into other areas. And then the tactic, and I think it's deplorable, I think it is immoral, but what all mayors do is say, if you don't pay more taxes, you're going to burn to death or you're going to get killed in the streets by criminals. And they always say, every time they're short of money and they want a tax increase or an override of Proposition 2.5, it's always cut police and fire. And they get guys like you, and I know your intentions were good, but it's time for you to stop. It's time for you to say no. Stop giving Joe Macy $92,000 for 18 hours. Stop hiring 25 people to work in your office because you want to be like the Queen of England and do nothing. Stop, shrink government, cut fat, get rid of all the patronage jobs. That's what was said at the debates. Stop this. Show me that this government is lean, there's no wasted money, and the last resort is to raise taxes. And then it should be a priority. The first place your money goes, it should be police and fire, and it's the last place it goes because they know they can steal money all day long, and when they get in the hole, it's the same old shit. You're going to lose fire and police, and it's the same. You want me to lay off firemen, or you're willing to pay $5? That's a lawyer question. That's a con, and your answer should be, do what you got to do. We're going to do what we got to do. We're going to get your ass out of that seat, because when you stop giving all your friends jobs, and we don't have 4 treasurers, 16 assistants everywhere, and all this fat in government, then I'll consider this. But don't use, and I object to using people who put their life on the line every time they walk into work as pawns for tax increases. And I take it very personally, because I marched behind 5 caskets of men who died in the line of duty in the city of Fall River fighting fires. And I think it's disgusting and disgraceful. And if I had my way, I would boot every politician in the ass before I let them walk in front of those caskets. All right? And I take it very personally.
What's interesting, Chip, what's very interesting, is that every one of these city councilors, all 9 of them, Casey, Correa, Long, Mioza, Mitchell, Pelletier, Camara, Rigo, they all voted for these budgets. They may have said no to them a couple of times, but you know what? Every one of them bonded for something, but they didn't bond for safety equipment. Pat Casey even said, the breathing equipment is horrendous, it doesn't work. But you never bonded for it, you fought them on it at every chance. Jason Correa, you did the same thing. You never bonded for it. You never tried to bond for it. You never pushed for it. Okay? Mike Mioza, they all did it. They all want you to love them, but they've all done it. And they keep saying, we're weak, we're weak, we're weak. You know how weak you are? You're weak because you don't exercise the power of the checkbook.
No, you're right. And
exercise that power.
And the fact is, listen, when I was the president, I fought for years. They replaced the entire fleet over the course of some years. But we began a replacement of the entire fleet of fire apparatus. And when we did that, after years of fighting, and these people say they've been in 20 years, so I'm going to remind them that you do crap. There's no follow-up. There was a promise, and when I went before the city council and we got this replacement in place, there was a commitment, supposedly, as all political commitments, to then begin a program of periodically replacing apparatus so we would have a constant flow. We'd retire the oldest apparatus and buy 1 or 2 trucks, and then we'd retire the next. And this way the fleet would stay viable. But that was never done. As usual, the political promise then has to become secondary to the fact that, hey, we're spending too much money, screw the fire apparatus, we're going to spend the money hiring our friends for jobs. And let's hold them accountable. You know, this isn't new. Jason Burns is complaining that there should be a system of replacement. Well, God damn it, they committed to a system of replacement over 20 years ago, and the thing is they don't do their job, which gets us back to the bottom line. Get them out of office.
Yes, I agree. And the worst part, Chip, is they're talking about the SAFER grants. You know what? Yeah, we have SAFER grants, but guess what? We're the ones that are using them to sustain the budgets instead of using them to supplement them. So stay angry, get your voice heard, and get out on Tuesday and vote. We'll see you Monday. Thanks for watching Spindle City Straight Talk.
And thanks for yelling at the debate.